All right, all right. Can everyone in the Zoom hear me? Throw me some love in the chat if you can. Make sure that the live stream is all set. Seems like it is going wonderful. All right. Well, let's get this party started. Hello, everyone. My name is Nico Calfor, and I'm the founder of Trubel&Co. Really excited to have you all join us today, but really most excited to have our wonderful troublemakers. Can we give them a round of applause for all their work this summer? Incredible. Now, before I belabor too long, I want to pass it off to the real person who made this happen, Regina Bale, who is from FGCU, from the Water School, and will start us off with a couple of remarks.
This reminds me of when I taught hybrid courses where it's like I need to keep admitting people on the Zoom while I'm also talking to the audience. So hopefully you guys get everything. So hello, I'm Regina Bale. I am the Environmental Education Coordinator at Florida Gulf Coast University's The Water School. So right now you're actually in Academic Building 9, the home of the Water School. And just wanted to say a few quick things because really today is about these amazing students and the things that they've been able to accomplish over an 8-week course, but also just like I spent just a few hours with them and I'm like, I can just see the future. So this is actually fabulous and wonderful. This program started a year ago when I met Nick, actually. There was this moment where I was at a conference and I heard about mapping justice and I realized this is something that we should bring here. So a little bit about where I work. I work for the Center for Environment and Society. So we are trying to take the research and things that we're doing at the water school and get it out in the hands of people so that we can better understand how we interact with the environment and the environment interacts with us. So in this way, we have this science that can help us. I bring the educational communications out to people who can work with them. And then we come up with, solutions and ideas. So one of the cool things is that every project you're going to see today is what these young folks think would be a solution to a problem that they have found using geographic information systems. A needed job skill, but also just a really cool thing across the board. So really glad that you're here. Some quick thank yous. I definitely want to thank Dr. Greg Tolley. He is the director of our water school and has been supporting this program since I came up with this idea. And I was like, let's partner with Nick. Let's try this cool thing. Collier County Public Schools and Lee County Schools have put a lot of effort into sharing this message. A lot of our students are from there. Shout out to Charlotte County. We got a Charlotte County student because we work with the 5-county region and we try to get everybody involved as possible. But sometimes, as we all know, place matters, where you're at matters. So sometimes the geography makes it difficult to travel this far, but we're glad we're going to keep getting more folks. I'd like to also thank Molly Krieger. You probably met her outside. She is the admin assistant for our center. And without that, we wouldn't have like buses ordered. We wouldn't have, food for lunch. So very excited. That's a lot of hard work behind the scenes. And lastly, I just want to say that we are incredibly lucky and very proud to be a part of this program and this beautiful cohort of students who are able to show what they know today. And that's the exciting part. Is I want to see all the cool things that you are able to do. So real quick, congratulations to you guys. It was a lot of hard work and you deserve everything that you're going to get from it. It's absolutely fabulous. So congratulations again.
Thank you so much. Can we give one more round of applause for FGCU for hosting us today and providing us this beautiful space? Wonderful. So some quick opening remarks from my side. And so I really wanted to start us off with a quick activity. Sorry, I'm a teacher, with those in the room. If we can all just spend one moment and think of something that is in our lives that is precious. Something that we hold really dear, something that we care about, something that when you think about it, it really warms your heart. Anyone want to share? I'll cold call. Yes. Your life. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. Our lives, just being here today, present with each other, it's so powerful. Anyone else? Just one thing that you find precious? Yes. My kids. I love that. Thank you so much. Keeping our children at heart. One more in the crowd, something we find precious. Could be anything. Yes. Plants. Plants are precious, especially here at the water school. No, it definitely matters. All of these things, our lives, the family we keep around us, the planet we live on. These things are so precious. And I like to think that we're here today, not only because we have so many things in our lives that we find precious, that we find things in our lives that we want to fight for, that there's something about society today that's not working for ourselves, for our family members, for the planet we're living on. I hear it's pretty unsustainable. There's something that we find super precious about the world we live in and the communities we're a part of, and we want to do something about it. And actually, we want to cause some good trouble. And so that's where we really come in with a lot of our programs. We see all of the different issues that we see in society today, all of the different woes from communities, from society, from our educational system, and we want to do something about it. And that's what really excites us about the power of education. We're blessed to be here today with 20 young troublemakers from Southwest Florida who have spent the past 8 weeks doing their free time during their summer saying, one, I'm gonna learn GIS. I'm gonna learn this new fancy data system to take quantitative insights and qualitative action. I'm going to do that and also talk about the issues that I care about. I'm going to reflect over these issues about the ecosystems we live in, the lakes that we see day to day, the plants that we find precious, and really think about what does this mean from a justice landscape? And then we're going to innovate. And so that's what really excites us about trubel&co. We're pushing together, how can we bring forward proximate innovators that are committed to liberation, folks that are reflecting over their ideas, their lived experiences in their communities, and they find that precious thing and they're going to fight for it using STEM. That's the heart of what we're doing here. And what's rooted in our work is this idea and concept of education as a practice of freedom. I'll read a couple quotes because these are two folks that really inform a lot of our pedagogy, a lot of the work that brings us here today and puts us forward to make some good trouble. We know that education connects the will to know with the will to become. Learning is a place where paradise can be created. These students in the past 8 weeks, hopefully we created a mini version of that paradise where they reflected over what they know, what they believe to be true, and the future they want to see, and had the power to make it become, had the power to make it actually be realized through the power of innovation and the power of technology. We had the opportunity to learn so much from these students in thinking about where the issues they care about and really learn from their own reflections and their own motivations to protect the land that we live on. We also reflect over these words from Angela Davis that you have to act as if it were possible to radically transform the world, and you have to do it all the time. That can be a large task to carry, but ultimately we're pushing you to think through, there's a lot of issues that you may see in the world. You may see society today not working for yourself, not working for certain communities or the land we live on, but we have to act and we have to transform and we have to do it together. So that's the part about trouble in the company and the community that we keep. But we know in today's education system, it's not always like that. Around the US, the education system is transforming and we're losing opportunities to teach our histories, to teach about our present identities, and to teach about the future we want to protect. But here at trubel&co and here with FGCU, we have an incredible opportunity to integrate these spaces. Oftentimes we see STEM in one world and social identity and policy issues in another. We see an integration where we're taking these digital skills of tomorrow and integrate it with the ideas of our future, with the potential of understanding what has happened in the past, acknowledging that, and moving forward together for collective liberation and action. And we're really excited to show you what some of the output of that via our troublemakers today. Trouble&Co, I've said it a lot, we're a tech justice nonprofit that champions youth to tackle complex societal challenges using data design and technology. They're learning these skills for the workforce of tomorrow, and they're applying it to the ideas and the futures that they care about the most. In doing so, we say that Trouble&Co is when technical skill building meets liberatory innovation. We have a series of programming and we're just getting started. We first started in 2020 in partnership with MIT, but thanks to FGCU and Regina, more specifically, we're here in Southwest Florida causing good trouble where it's needed most, making sure the youth of tomorrow have the skills to protect the lives and the planet they care about. Troublemakers, give it another round for the troublemakers in the room. Now, from our students, I am curious, who had used GIS before mapping justice? Who knows how to use GIS now? Anyone else in the audience know of GIS or have heard of it? All right, I love to see it. So hopefully I don't need to spend too much time telling you about GIS, but for those who are new in the room, it's an incredible data tool that is a low-code entryway to understanding how do you take data and storytell? How do you take data and really understand the communities we live in and make change for action? And so our students have been able to connect this wonderful world of geography to the various issues they care about, from health, business, economics, politics, justice, and ultimately the environment. They're looking over how does the environment and the world we live in and the ecosystems we're a part of integrate with the communities and the people of this planet, and how do we use data and geographic insights to make a difference. Before I belabor for too long, I also want to give a moment for you to hear from a couple of our alumni who reflected over the mapping justice experience as well. They couldn't be here today, but we have a couple of videos to show you.
Hi, my name is Andrew West. I participated in Mapping Justice in the summer of 2020, and my capstone project focused on how voter ID laws can disenfranchise transgender and non-binary voters.
Hello, my name is William Mariscal, and I am a Mapping Justice alum from 2022. My project topic was food insecurity and its vast interrelated factors.
Prior to entering Mapping Justice, my exposure to STEM, I would say, was really limited to what I was taught in the classroom. I felt that I always had this kind of strong interest in STEM fields. Like, I really liked math, I really liked to program, but I had a hard time seeing kind of like a broader applicability of those subjects. It didn't feel like STEM was something that could really have a direct impact on people, which is something that was always really important to me.
My relationship to STEM before Mapping Justice was purely medicine, I will not lie. I did take a computer science course prior to Mapping Justice, but I never really saw myself working with anything that was too technological or just coding based for me.
And Mapping Justice, I would say, totally changed all of that. I think getting to use GIS to investigate these very real world issues honestly opened up this entire new worldview to me, which is absolutely fantastic.
What really stood out to me about Mapping Justice was how it was described to be a bridge between data and social issues, which to me, I personally never thought about, because data to me is data, you know? And I really love how Mapping Justice was catered to describe the role of race and class and how it overlaps by utilizing, you know, public data to highlight the cracks in our systems.
I, coming into the class, had no exposure to GIS whatsoever, but I tried it out and I really ended up loving it. I'm kind of a creative person. I love the kind of like artistic visual side of things as well. And GIS is definitely all of that.
One more mini clip.
So I am pleased to announce, as you couldn't see from the back, that I will be attending Johns Hopkins University this fall to study public health. I did feel that through public health, I could continue studying and analyzing the implications of our systems and how people's health is truly a result of their class, race, and socioeconomics. My biggest piece of advice to any mapping justice student is that I know it's gonna look like a lot and it's gonna be really discouraging when you get really confused, but push through and ask those questions, because trust me, they are not too dumb or simple. Trust me, like everything really matters. Everyone is going to struggle at some point. You are not alone. Geospatial analysis is really humbling if you don't know what you're doing. It's really just how you execute it, bae. Like, you really don't know until you try it. Make the most out of it. Have as much fun as you can with it. Explore around. There is no shame. Have all the fun you want. Make the most out of it.
So that was just a taste of some of our past troublemakers of other years, having fun with data, using GIS as a form of data as play to create some of these insights. Mapping Justice uses a liberatory framework in order to tackle these complex challenges. It's a framework that's actually adopted from abolitionist frameworks that show that we need to explore drivers of social inequity. We are empowered to reimagine liberatory futures and think through a society where we all have access to what we need, and a strategy in moving forward to design some of these geo tools for social change. There's a quote from Ruth Wilson Gilmore, who's an incredible geographer and an incredible abolitionist, who says, "Where life is precious, life is precious." And that's such a part of the core of what we do at Trubel&Co. We reflect over the things that are precious to us, and we're motivated to take action. We look to the places, the communities, the cities, the ecosystems, places here in Fort Myers, here in Southwest Florida that we find precious. And we say we want to advocate for social change, and we're going to learn STEM while doing it. We're going to take action. I'm so excited to pause in a moment and actually pass it over to some of our team where they can show some of this work. But ultimately, I want to leave us with this idea of safeguarding, that our students here, our troublemakers today, are now tasked with the mission of finding the things that they care about and doing something about it. We're hoping to give them skills that can prepare them for the economic workforce while also changing the world around them. No easy task, but I really believe in them. And just seeing their comments throughout the past 8 weeks, seeing them interact with each other today has really given me hope for the ways that we can transform Southwest Florida for the better. And so we're all connected. We all have this ability to make change, and really excited to see what the troublemakers will get to next. But for now, I will pass it on to the remarks from our instructional team.
Thanks so much for that, Nick. So thank you all for being here with us. We are super, super excited for all of the work that these students have done over the summer. My name is Lauren Ashby, and I have had the pleasure of being the lead instructor for Mapping Climate Justice this summer with this incredible group of 20 troublemakers. I cannot emphasize enough how impressed we are with the projects they've done, with the impact of the research that they're working on, and really with how immensely quickly they picked up GIS. I think for most of us, this was a skill that we picked up in college. Somewhere along the way, we stumbled into that class, or we stumbled into geography, and we spent months and months and months just fighting with this software, doing labs that didn't really mean anything. They were labs that were done in the textbook, and we finished, and we had a skill, but we didn't really know what to do with it. And all summer, these students have not only learned how to use GIS, which is definitely a learning curve, as I'm sure they could tell you, but also how to connect it to these really important issues of social and environmental justice. So throughout the summer, they combined readings and discussions around various environmental justice issues that are important to them and important to this community, with learning GIS, and also with developing their own research projects. So they definitely had their hands full this summer, that's for sure. And we were super, super fortunate to have such an amazing group of students to work with. So as I've told them a million times, they should be really, really proud of everything they have worked on this summer. And all of their friends and family should also be really proud of everything that they have worked on this summer. They jumped into this course, as they all just said, with no experience in GIS, and came out of it, as you will see shortly, with some really, really incredible maps. They were known to really stump our guest speakers with really, really thoughtful questions, to ask us really thoughtful questions about the work we do, about the work that they're doing. And they really began, frankly, from like day 2 to think really, really critically about their readings, about their projects, and to take the work that they're doing really seriously. So I know as an instructional team, we have no doubt that they will all go on to continue doing really incredible things, and that this summer was really only the start. But I will pass it off to our TAs, and it was really wonderful to get to know these students this summer.
Yeah, it was great. So I just want to say that it's been an absolute pleasure getting to know you all. And thank you for spending many chaotic hours talking about your color palettes and your passions. And I've learned so much about Southwest Florida and your communities, and that you all are really incredibly thoughtful. And I can't wait to see you all become wonderful professionals and, more importantly, community members, pursuing your passion projects and causing groundbreaking and compassionate trouble. And so I don't know who to attribute this quote to, because in all honesty, it was my friend's Instagram bio for a while, but it's kind to people, ruthless to systems. And I see you all doing that, and I hope you continue to do so.
Thank you. So first, I just want to take a second to thank all the students and say how proud of them I am. I know as a high school student back in my junior year, I wouldn't have been down to put in so much work throughout the free summer. So we really appreciate all the work they put in and the passion that they've had for this course. And I think it really shines through in their work. And I also just wanted to take a second to say that lately, with everything that's been going on in the state of Florida, a lot of people throughout the country are kind of quick to write us off as just a state full of, ignorant people who aren't really going anywhere. But if these students are any indication, the future of the state is a lot brighter than you might think.
Thank you both so much for those remarks. And before we turn it over to these wonderful presentations, I want to pull up 2 of our students to just share a little bit about their experience with the program. So I want to welcome Cole and Jules up to the front.
Hello, my name is Juliana and I go by Jules. So I am a student from Collier County and I'm going to be an uprising junior. So honestly, two key takeaways that I can gain from this program is that I was able to dive into some research that most high school students are unable to do on the high school level. And especially I was able to do it with a STEAM program as like this. I was able to basically research into interests that I'm very passionate about, which is something that a lot of people are unable to do. And my second key takeaway is that I was able to meet some wonderful people that I would never be able to meet ever, especially since there's only 3 people from Collier County. I was able to meet a lot of Lee County people and also a Charlotte County student. So I was able to meet so I was able to meet a lot of people that I can honestly say have impacted my life, as I'm able to dive into research that they have conducted, which has created a whole new different mindset that I'm honestly gonna have with myself forever, and I'm so happy about that.
Hi, my name is Cole Biner. I'm from Charlotte County, and I'm from Port Charlotte High School. I'll be a senior this year. And last year at my school, I took a course centered around the environment. And then a few months ago, my teacher recommended that I take this class. And I like learning about sustainability and the environment, but really I only took it, signed up for this course to make her happy. But after taking this class, I saw a whole new side of the environmental field that I've never been exposed to before. I started analyzing my own data and exploring geographic information systems that I've never seen before. And it really secured in my mind that I want to pursue a career in the environmental field. So I'm grateful for that.
Thank you so much, Cole and Jules. No one could have said it better. I am so happy that we got to have all of you in this course this summer. So I'm going to turn it over then to our students for the first round of presentation. So our first group is Christina Batten Hernandez, who has been researching temperature rise and its impact towards Florida's vulnerable groups. So take it away, Christina.
Like she said, my topic is temperature rise impact towards Florida's vulnerable groups. But okay, so the increase in global temperatures is often the root cause of various environmental problems, including extreme weather, flooding, hurricanes, which is with extreme droughts, wildfires. But the main issues I wanted to focus on was issues towards young children and older adults and those of low income. Like, for example, the possible problems rising heat may cause to their health or to their income and their income when they spend it on utilities. Research questions, I was more focused on like what areas are most impacted by heat. Where in Florida is there evidence of those being impacted, and is there a correlation between the race living within that area? Historical and current context. It first started like in the 19th century when we found out about the problems with CO2 and other greenhouse gases causing the earth to warm up. However, it wasn't until the 20th century that we really started to look at recognize it globally. So yeah, those impacted have been include areas like coastal communities because of the heat and flooding caused by low income people, experiencing increased poverty, income inequality, increased hospitalizations. I don't know like if you guys watch me. Oh, I'm pretty sure you guys watched me. But sorry. There's been increased temperature in ocean waters. There's been increasing wildfires and yeah, sorry. Oh right, okay. So these are my two maps, right? So this one shows like the lighter green areas, the high high summer heat and low tree coverage, like there's not a lot of tree coverage. And these are pie charts showing, I didn't really put the legend here, but they show population, like which races you would put on it within those light green areas. For example, here in Fort Myers, you can see that in the light green areas, there's more, well, the yellow means black race and the dark orange is Hispanic race. You can see that they're more aligned within the green. Oh, sorry. What this map shows is what, again, with race, what race is more predominant. And the darker purples are percent of population that pay above 30% of income. And the dark oranges, if you look within my story map, you can see that it's mostly live recordings of areas. I found that natural events like volcano eruptions, greenhouse gas is natural and it causes the globe to warm up naturally. However, there are corporations like coal, gas, and other natural fossil fuels that supply people with these CO2s and other gases, causing people to use more of it and like increase what would be considered the natural global. Solutions would be like involving green technology, providing more support to areas that may experience heat wave impacts, like cool down areas. Education, I think education is a huge thing because education can change the way someone thinks. Like we get like studies on drugs and everything, but I think if we also focus on heat related illnesses, we can also like focus on making sure that that doesn't happen. Again, providing assistance or coming up with strategies to implement better like heat mitigation in urban areas. I think, oh, there was a lot of missing data, but it was like I was trying to find health data to show like, oh, these ages get more hospitalization. But then I realized that those data would be privatized and not really like shown accurately. And most temperature is like when it comes to heat temperature, most of the time it's like ignored because like if you get heat stroke, okay, that's important. But if you get a sunburn or a heat rash, it's not as important as heat stroke. Oh right, my takeaways. Learning learning college level research and mapping are productive to do during summer. Um, yeah, learning that sometimes it's better to keep going. Like, because I almost give up. Um, oh, and learning about like the other students' problems and injustice within our campus. It's really interesting to learn a lot about that.
There any questions? You want to stay up for one question, Christina? One question. Over there. All right.
What was your most interesting finding, or what surprised you the most about doing this project?
Um, Mainly, I actually assumed that everyone was impacted, like everyone's impacted, but it's actually like certain groups of race and certain groups of ages that are like truly impacted by that.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Christina. So our next group is Stephanie Ramos and Cole Biner with Arable Land Degradation.
Hello. As you can see, our issue is arable land degradation. Today, only roughly 30% of the total land on Earth has climate conditions that are suitable for agriculture. This supply of land is being deteriorated through a process called arable land degradation, which is when the nutrients and topsoil of a parcel of land is deteriorated, preventing that land from being farmed on. While initially this process was credited to overgrazing and intensive agriculture production methods, today it is occurring more frequently due to climate change through processes such as irregular rainfall and sea level rise. For our capstone, we sought to analyze whether climate change was causing the world's supply of arable land to decrease, how rising sea levels will affect Florida's coastal agriculture, and what areas are most at risk of soil degradation due to climate change.
And now for the historical and current context. So when did it first begin? So around 1993 to early 2000, scientists noticed that the amount of eroding shoreline that was happening in Florida alone had increased from 356 miles to 448.7 miles. But who specifically was being affected? So Florida's agricultural sector may decline, which means that the yearly income of $120 billion a year is significantly declined. And thousands of coastal households that rely on groundwater and aquifer storage as their main water source will have to find other alternatives in order to drink safe and healthy water. Not to mention small-scale farmers and family-owned land will have to find other ways to replace their inarable land and find other sources of stable income. Not to mention wildlife and ecosystems will also be greatly impacted. Now, there are current issues and future implications that could potentially present themselves, like our sources of water could be contaminated with certain waterborne illnesses that could affect hundreds of Floridians across Florida. And crops that source their water from contaminated freshwater sources will be more susceptible to droughts, pests, and diseases. And it's estimated that by 2050, 267 family farms will turn inarable, which will prevent families across Florida from maintaining a stable income. Now, this is a major issue, as well as mentioned before, with wildlife that could potentially destroy entire ecosystems and disrupt food chains.
Now our analysis. For our analysis within our capstone, we explored the relationship between climate change and soil degradation more in depth. However, for our maps, we sought to identify areas that are most at risk due to these processes. Our first map depicts Florida farms at risk of various levels of sea level rise. The highest risk being a rise of 5 feet and the lowest risk being a rise of 20 feet. Our second map analyzes United States agricultural counties that may be placed at risk due to irregular rainfall. The blue portions you see on our map depict areas at risk of soil runoff and flooding due to excess rainfall, and the yellow areas depict regions that are at risk of drought. From our analysis, we found that while climate change is not the only cause, it is becoming increasingly instrumental in causing soil degradation by the day. Some solutions we found to mitigate this issue are limiting our climate impact through alternative energy sources that are renewable and less carbon intensive, and decreasing our emissions. Another alternative is finding new methods of agriculture that are less soil intensive, one of which being organic farming.
And to conclude, we found that due to limited time, we were unable to analyze every climate cause of soil degradation. And because of this course, we were provided the ability to learn and express data on a geospatial scale, as well as interpret GIS data. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Anyone have a question for this group? All right, I'm coming with your mic. Hold on. The Zoom won't be able to hear you. I don't give you the mic.
I was intrigued by that first bullet that you had up there. If you had had more time, what aspect of climate change do you think would be most important that you weren't able to include in the time you had?
Great question. Entering the course, Entering the course, we had to do our big idea, which is where we did an introduction to the topics that we wanted to explore. And for my big idea, I chose this topic, and I listed all of the climate causes that I could find, some of which were saltwater intrusion specifically, as well as erosion. I can't remember all of them on top of my head because I'm a little bit nervous, but there's so many other climate causes, temperature rise, that I haven't gotten to explore in depth because of the 8-week time span that I would like to explore in the future.
Thank you so much, Cole and Stephanie. So for our next group, I'm going to bring up Gwendolyn, Pranati, and Jules.
Hi everyone, my name is Pranati, this is Gwendolyn, and this is Jules. Our issue is the effect of water contamination on low-income communities because they do not have the proper resources to protect themselves from unsafe water. And we decided to focus on the issue on communities in Lee County specifically, and the communities with lower median household incomes because they're most at risk and most impacted by water contamination. And some of these contaminants in the water might include toxic and pet waste, motor oil, pesticides, which continue to decline water quality in Florida. And these are various research questions that we use to gather our research during this program, but the specific one that we focused on in our story map is what impact has water contamination had on water quality in low-income communities in the So historically, contamination on a large scale began during the Industrial Revolution when factories and automobiles began popping up all over America. Because we had all of these factories popping up, we had a lot of products just being pumped out of them. We had a lot of byproducts coming out of these factories, smog in the air. I mean, you can think back, like there's pictures back then of like it being so smoggy you can't even see like through the buildings. In really compacted cities. A lot of people began moving to these cities, which was a health problem because of the dense populations. People didn't have proper septic, and that was contaminating the water as well. So we started to realize by the 1800s that this was a real problem. And by 1966, Florida began the annual water sampling program.
So today, people who live paycheck to paycheck might not have like the funds to really take care of themselves and get good clean water, especially during natural disasters like hurricanes and just recently Hurricane Ian. There was poor water quality and a badly damaged water system that affected nearly 760,000 people according to New York Times. There was a mother who said that she had to give her child, her 6-year-old daughter, I believe, juice boxes to basically live off of for a few days because she did not have access to water. And then in urban communities as well, people may not have access to clean water, so they drink from lakes and ponds, which is also extremely dangerous and consider like runoff from motor oil and cars. And then this is a map of some of that contamination. This is Central Florida. This is the most contaminated area. There's a bit more towards the north, but this is the most concentrated that it is. And this is mainly from cars. So all these lakes down here, these are all infected. These are OFWs and preserves. So marine life is especially affected. I'll keep it short and simple. This map demonstrates the medium income of people that occupy Lee County. We also explored racial and ethnic demographics in Lee County with this map as well. We have 3 additional maps here.
Towards the end of the research, we found that the main actors that are responsible for this issue are industries and industrial sites because of the toxic waste that they release into contaminated water. And these chemicals cause the contaminated water. And people in low-income communities consume that contaminated water and don't realize how dangerous it actually is. And possible solutions to this issue include stormwater management, wastewater treatment, and using eco-friendly pesticides and fertilizers.
Overall, during our time in this course, we were able to essentially take away that it's essential to be able to have reliable information that does not create biases, and we were able to look into key bodies of water and contamination in Lee County. Thank you. I hope to talk to you all.
Thank you.
Stay up there for your question. Yeah. Wonderful. Thank you all so much. I have a question for this group right behind me.
Can you talk a little bit about the sources where you got this data and how hard or easy it was to find the information you were looking for, especially on the GIS, on the pure GIS side of things?
Yeah, so I mainly got information from Lee County's ArcGIS program, and thankfully they were able to provide a plethora of resources, such as wastewater treatment plants that we looked into. We're able to find contamination levels for several water treatment plants in Lee County, while we are also able to find canals, rivers, ponds, and large bodies of water in Lee County, even small bodies of water, including watersheds and historical pathways. And by having all that information provided by us from Lee's ArcGIS, we're able to basically map all these information with information that's widely accessible. However, it's unknown. So I was very appreciative that Lee County was very open about what information they had and they weren't guarding it.
Wonderful. Thank you all so much. So our next group is Lindsay, Daniela, and Esmeralda, who are going to talk to us about the price of climate change and inequality.
Hi, my name is Lindsay Garkinville. My partners are.
Hi, I'm Esmeralda. Hi, I'm Daniela Rhonda.
Our project is called The Price of Climate Change and Inequality. Our introduction will start with historical.
So basically, we'll be talking about gentrification and the way that climate change is basically making that worse. Our research questions were, what is the connection between climate change and red light gentrified minority communities? How can natural disaster assistance, public policy, and education be improved to benefit the quality of life of like minority communities and people who have been hurt historically by different.
And our other question is climate change affecting people, and can that be changed through things like FEMA, changing laws, and schooling?
Okay, so first off, we'll be going through the historical context. So basically, these are the four main contributors to the gentrification that minorities are experiencing today, which was redlining, white flight, urban renewal, and the foreclosure crisis. So basically, redlining labeled minority communities as risky and unfit for investment, which made them deny loans to them to buy or repair homes in their communities. White flight, which increased the growth of white suburbs, and urban renewal with the highway system expansion, urban renewal programs that caused communities of color to experience mass clearance of homes and businesses, and the foreclosure crisis, which mainly affected minority communities. This has led to disparities in how communities are helped and how they can help themselves when natural disasters and impacts of climate change arise. For our analysis, this is where the main part of GIS came from. This is all of our maps. That first map would be Esmeralda's map, where she talks about sea level rise inundation and how low income people are impacted by that. This would be my map, the one in the middle, and the blue is meant to symbolize the climate change, like community challenges index, to see how communities are able to rebuild and survive and sustain themselves after hurricanes. And the black dots range from size, the smallest dots being the lowest income levels and the biggest dots being the highest income levels. And I wanted to see if there was a correlation between the highest or like income level and how people are able to sustain themselves after hurricanes. And then the last map at the bottom would be Daniela's map, where she goes into redlining and income level. And this is our dashboard. St. Petersburg doesn't exist, it's okay. But the red maps, you'll see like splashes of color, where it's just green, red, blue, and green, red, blue, and yellow. Red symbolizes the most hazardous parts that the HOLC determined were the places we should not invest at all because it's just not going to come or it's not going to help us in the future. The purple, like the gradient from green to purple, that's the highest and lowest income levels. Green being the lowest, purple being like really dark purple being the highest. And we also use sea level rise data. That would be the black dots where sea level rise inundation is happening. And this is our conclusion.
The conclusion that we have come up with so far is that the homeowners loan corporation system of redlining led to minority communities being underinvestment, adding the negative impact of natural disasters such as sea level rise and etc. has caused these communities to be further destabilized. Ways to solve this problem is to require cooperation between climate change activists, environmental government agencies, organizations that work against gentrification, and people in charge of providing federal or nonprofit aid after natural disasters, such as FEMA and the American Red Cross. The gaps in our work were minimal information on redlining and gentrifications in smaller cities, limited data on natural disasters because they do not happen as often to record consistently. The biggest takeaway so far is that there is ways to get involved, whether it's through tech, advocating, talking to your friends and family. And that was it. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you all so much. I have one question for this group.
So the issue of redlining, I know it's historically been a problem for minorities and low-income people. Is that still a problem today in 2023?
I mean, yes, because like these minority communities, like they don't get as much like attention to like their buildings or infrastructure, so they're like still struggling from the policies that were implemented back then in the 1930s and 60s. So yeah, it's still affecting them today.
Thank you all so much. So our next mini presentation, microphone's trying to roll away, is by Romy, Shamara, and Maricela, where they're going to discuss displacement due to climate change.
Hello, everyone. My name is Shamara. This is Romy and Maricela. Our capstone is on displacement due to climate change. This is our agenda and then our introduction. So our issue is that we hope to explore the displacement of people and communities due to climate change. For context, displacement occurs when individuals are forced to leave their homes, and that may be because of hurricanes or desertification. Specifically for our project, we decided to focus on sea level rise and droughts. Our questions that we asked ourselves during our project was what demographics are most affected by droughts? What are the effects of sea level rise on Florida residents? How can GCIS mapping be used to demonstrate the climate gentrification? So we're going to go into the historical and current context of droughts. Historically, droughts have always been a problem in the United States, and this is evident on many occasions. One important one is the Dust Bowl of the 1930s. This environmental disaster affected mainly the Great Plains region, which includes states like Texas. This was a combination of long drought periods and just poor land management practices that caused people to not have enough food or water to drink and eventually leave their homes. Droughts continue to be a significant concern in the United States. Evidently, in states like California, Nevada, and Texas, they have been facing water scarcity and declining reservoir levels. So this happens when people go for long periods without not having enough water to drink. And sometimes farms do not have enough water to support their crops, which in turn will have food deserts and just areas that do not have enough food to live, and that makes communities struggle. Another issue that is prominent and is related to droughts is wildfires. As Floridian residents, I know that wildfires is something that has been happening often. In places like Golden Gate Estates, there have been wildfires that people have had to leave their homes due to them being unsafe. This is our map that focuses on current drought conditions in the United States. As you can see on the legend, the lightest color is the yellow, which means these are the parts that are abnormally dry. So their drought conditions are not as bad as other places, but they are still facing droughts. The darkest color, the darkest red, means exceptional drought areas. And this is areas that are facing droughts and have been facing droughts for long periods of time. This is my map. The neon purple show it's a projection, and it shows the high percentile that will be at risk of sea level. This is another one that shows the evacuation routes in the United States, and it shows the demographic of people, like if it's the population, if they have a disability, like how many people have a disability in the state, and many more.
Sea level rise. Florida's extensive coastline and low-lying geography make it highly susceptible
to the effects of sea level rise. This puts communities like Florida and like Miami and uh, well where we live. Our people responsible for these issues are people who litter emissions from fossil fuels and the combating sea level rise, flood barriers, seawalls, planting mangroves, and combining droughts.
In conclusion, climate change is an impending threat to our planet, and we need to start caring about future generations before it is too late. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Sorry, I couldn't get the mic to turn on. Any questions? Okay, I've got one up there. In a second.
This is, ladies, thank you. It was really interesting. Lots of work with climate change focuses on a particular thing. And I like the way that you put together drought and sea level rise. If you were thinking about extending this to some other place besides Florida or North America, what part of the world do you think is going to be particularly susceptible to these kinds of changes?
Well, Antarctica, because the ice glaciers are melting, so the people who live there and like the tribes and things, they can't find food. They like they're because the the stores that they have, they don't get enough food to survive, so they have to hunt and things, and they can't do that because of the ice glaciers melting. So it would be hard for them to find food and find food at the stores and um, honor their cultural practices.
Thank you all so much. If you guys could just cut out. Wonderful. Our next group is Amber Irwin, who is going to discuss wastewater's contribution to the coral bleaching crisis.
Hello, I'm Amber Irwin, and this is my project on wastewater's contribution to the coral bleaching crisis. So first, an introduction to the issue. Wastewater pollution has detrimental impacts on the reefs found within Florida, and my research questions are: how does wastewater runoff contribute to coral bleaching? How does wastewater pollution affect the coral reefs, specifically along Florida's southeast coast? And how does the proximity of reefs to wastewater facilities relate to the status of coral bleaching? Wastewater pollution has been found to leave our oceans vulnerable to disease and changes in water conditions, such as pH level and salinity, which causes resulting harm to our reefs. These coral reefs are really important to Florida as they provide a major source of jobs, income, food, and other resources. Now for historic and current context. The very first bleaching event to occur was in 1964, and this was the only bleaching event until the 80s when mass bleaching began to occur due to an El Nino event. Around the same time, Florida began to feel the effects in the 90s when nearshore reefs began to face significant damage. Pollution's always been an issue faced by humans as we produce a lot of waste, but it wasn't even discovered until the 1800s that unsanitary conditions warranted the growth of bacteria and disease and were really harmful. It wasn't until the 1850s that the first sewage system was completed, and this was in Chicago, and then 1970s, Florida began to see a lot of heavy lake pollution alongside thermal or heated water discharge from the introduction of power plants. Just in 2009, there was a recorded 14% loss in global coral cover, which is equivalent to almost all of the reefs found within Australia. Just within Florida, it was found that 70% of our reefs are actually shrinking in size rather than growing, and these species tend to be the ones that provide the most protection and are reef building. Florida still lacks a clear enforcement policy or plan for the discharge of wastewater, and just in 2021 alone, there was a report, 30 million gallons of raw sewage reported to have been spilled. This is really concerning as it's also estimated that 60% of spills weren't even reported. Now for my analysis. My first map displays the locations of coral reefs as well as wastewater facilities. And alongside that, the coral reefs are colored according to their bleaching status. My second map identifies hotspots or dense areas of wastewater facilities, and it highlights the counties that have the most impact as having the most reefs within 10 miles. My final map displays again the wastewater facilities as well as the connected waterways. There's also a 10-mile buffer or area around the reefs used to identify it as the vulnerable region. It's been found that agricultural, industrial, and wastewater treatment facilities are the most responsible for the water pollution. There are varying levels of government which are responsible for their corresponding levels of regulations and policies, as well as other environmental, political, economic, and social issues. Now for my conclusion, some solutions that can be implemented just into your daily life are planting foliage, avoiding single-use plastics such as water bottles and grocery bags, recycling, properly disposing of waste, and simply spreading awareness. It's important to note that potential gaps may be found, as this is only one type of waste, as well as one type of factor harming our reef. My takeaway has been that there are a lot of rapidly evolving issues facing humans and harming our planet, and we have to be the ones to solve the problem. We can't wait for someone else.
Thank you so much, Amber. Do I have a question for Amber? You went back there. I'm coming.
What application, online GIS application, you guys got into the most trouble with?
I would say our capstone projects, just as this is our main focus, we're bringing awareness to these issues and not sugarcoating it and just showing this is the problem and it's time to fix these problems. And
thank you so much. Thank you. All right. So our next group is Riley and Lila that are going to explore how Florida's agriculture is affecting access to clean water.
Hello, everyone. My name is Lila Castro, and I'm there Riley McFarland, and I will begin our presentation by informing you of our problem statement that our research is focused on. Our problem statement is the unsustainable practices of the agricultural industry in Florida waterways, including the protection of red tide. Our research questions all focus on the impact that farmland has on red tide, but specifically our GIS one is the proximity of red tide and farmland, red tide to farmland, and then red tide solo income. Our historical and with when this issue first arose. The growth of red tide was first seen along the Gulf Coast of Florida in 1844. However, it was noticed by Native Americans once they realized that many marine life were washing up on shore. People affected include those in low-income communities, communities who rely on fishing and tourism industries as a way of life, because red tide has such a devastating effect on our ecosystems. We rely on for income. The present status of red tide is that it is overall increasing. Although granted there has been a lot of research going into the treatment of red tide, an overall increase has been seen due to our ever-growing population. Increase in people result in the increase in necessary food production, therefore the growth in fertilizers applied to farmland to sustain. For our analysis, our first map, all the red dots are the algal blooms in the past 30 days. The dots are farmland, and you can notice that there's a cluster of farmland around where a Oregon came from it, and particularly here's right where we are, and we've experienced a lot in the past couple of years from like a coast. Our second map depicts the average median household income of communities in Florida. We also included the algal blooms grown in the last 30 days
to demonstrate the ability of communities to withstand the effects of red algal bloom. We found that farmers in Florida are mostly processors, but also the big companies that they work for, governments that are are unwilling to set laws that basically force sustainable practices because the Clean Water Act does not actually require compliance. It just kind of says this would be nice. Possible solutions, being most obvious, is the reduction of fertilizer use. However, we can also use ways to bioremediate, such as clays that have been researched. And we also looked into the use of plants because we know that they are precious, such as moringa or leaf. Some gaps in our work were that phosphate mining is using a lot of fertilizers, and we didn't actually find where all the phosphate mining was and how it affects red tide, and also there are other solutions such as stormwater pollution, wastewater pollution, and red tide. Lastly, our key takeaway from this class is that many people are ignorant. They are
Okay, maybe not to put it that way, but we're a lot of people are uninformed and uneducated on many topics involving climate change. And we believe that although some things aren't always talked about, anyone from any background, any level of income, they have the ability to research a topic that they're passionate about and represent it as a dashboard in a map, any way they want. They believe that it is best to facilitate a solution to be developed. Thank you. Thank you both so much. Yeah, I see a question up top there.
Yeah, following up from your last comments, which were valuable, it's good to hear and good to be reminded. In the 1980s, 1970s, 1990s, climate change was very bipartisan. It has changed pretty radically where there are some populations of individuals, as you described, who are not informed. What I'm wondering is, do you get a sense among young people, yourselves, that this is a politicized issue or just an issue we need to attend to? So is this something where you are in one camp versus another camp? Or is this something that all young people kind of recognize we need to pay attention to?
That's a really good question, actually. Unfortunately, I do believe it is too political because there's like the whole, is science real? Like, yes, it's real. I believe, personally, I've lived here my whole life and I can see it happening. I've seen the hurricanes have gotten worse. We should not be having 4 hurricanes in one season. I've seen like Florida used to have a cold, so I believe that there's just too much where people are like, oh, well, like, you're crazy, like, no, just look outside. And I believe young people, unfortunately, do that too, and that there's room for improvement there. I would like to touch on this because I'm from up north, I'm from New Jersey, and I visit and it doesn't snow anymore. And I know that not all kids are informed on climate change, and I feel like it's a lot about one's upbringing, and especially like exposure to social media. It always depends. Not everyone, like, to answer your question, not everyone, not all kids know about this, but it's fortunate that there are some students, such as us troublemakers, that want to create. And this one will be quick, but I also think that what I realized from this class is that I haven't really grow up. Like, I've also been fortunate to live, very nicely for my whole life, and you don't always realize the things that affect people. And so while someone who might be living somewhere else might see what all of our pollution is doing, you don't always see it every day. So I kind of branch out a little bit sometimes.
Thank you all so much. All right. Our second to last group, we have Anais Jerome, and her partner Jaden is unfortunately out of the country and unable to be with us tonight. But Anais is going to present their project, Environmental Impact of Fast Food.
Hey, good afternoon. Yes, my name is Anna Jerome, and unfortunately, my partner isn't here to present, so you guys get to see my beautiful face today. Just me. Okay, so the issue we plan to explore is the environmental impact on fast food and what it has on society. So we realize that fast food is an environmental issue because of the amount of waste it produces and the energy that is required to produce and transport the food. This contributes to climate change, which is a major issue. So the research questions we focused on was what impact has the fast food industry had on low income households? What are the effects on what are the effects of fast food consumption on the environment in Florida? And in what ways does the geographic distribution of fast food contribute to environmental degradation? And what are the fatal patterns to this impact? So, for the historical and current context, it began in the 20th century, which is like the 1980s and 1990s. And scientists recognized this and they realized how fast food affected the environment. So they realized this with water contamination, garbage generation and disposal, and land deterioration. So with this, we realized that the people who are most affected and are most vulnerable are the people who live in low income communities. And with this problem, we realized that today that that it's still a problem and it's concerning because fast food production and consumption still contributes to the environment. So for our analysis, this map this map shows the fast food restaurant. The black dots represent the fast food restaurants, and the different colors represent like the poverty level. So the dark red means like the people um, who are below poverty level in the past 12 months, while the lightest color represents like they're not in the lowest income. I didn't see other maps. Okay, so we had other maps, but you guys will see that later. Anyways, so the findings is that we realized were that the fast food industries are responsible for these issues, and like I said before, is that the environmental factors is includes waste, water usage, and also includes greenhouse gas emissions. Political factors include regulations and policies. Economic factors include production costs and consumer demand, and social factors include public opinion and health concerns. We can solve this issue by using sustainable practices, eco-friendly materials, and reducing waste. Conclusion. So we realize there is a gap in our work, and we realize that if we were to continue to research this problem, we would try to find what specific fast food restaurants are causing more harm than others. And one key takeaway from this class was to find reliable sources of information for this research, since that's a problem we had a lot during this class. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Anais. We have a question. I'll make me get my steps in today.
Good job. And if a fast food restaurant chain, for example, hired you as a consultant and they wanted to know your opinion on what the highest impact thing they could do to improve their environmental sustainability, what would your opinion be on that?
Well, one thing I would say is I would continue to do what many fast food places are doing now, which is using eco-friendly materials, which like, for example, I know that in some places, Chipotle is using like the the spoons are different. They're not plastic anymore. I know places are using paper straws instead of regular plastic straws. And this will prevent like the plastic usage and the waste that is going on in our environment.
Thank you so much. All right. And last but certainly not least, and as a reminder, the students will be presenting these projects more in depth in the room next door. So you'll have a lot of opportunities to ask all of your questions you didn't get to today or in this session. So Alaya and Gracie and Ocean are going to talk about coastal erosion.
Hello, my name is Alaya, and our Capstone project, like Ms. Lauren just said, is going to be on coastal erosion. My name is Anne Gracie Satir. I am Ocean Dowd. What is coastal erosion? Coastal erosion is a naturally occurring process in which sediments of our coast are taken away or worn down by wind, water, and storm. Although it is naturally occurring, coastal erosion is occurring at a way faster rate due to climate-related issues such as more frequent floods and, of course, sea level rise. So during our research, we wanted to answer 3 more important questions to go in depth. What effects of climate change are causing increased rates of coastal erosion? Where along the coast of Florida will be the most effective, and what locations are most in danger of coastal erosion along the Florida coast? For our historical note that we have a lot of, in our historical context, we have a lot of similarities with Kanaki, Glenelg, and Jules group, in that it was first noted with the Industrial Revolution and the group. When moving onward, I did want to note our target audience and people affected by this, as coastal residents move further inland, people that are financially disenfranchised may be put at risk of displacement. And it's important to note that, to put this into perspective, roughly $500 million a year are lost due to damage along the coast. Additionally, this doesn't just affect our property, but our home and our land, as mangroves and natural habitats are put at risk due to the ocean. So I'm going to take over the analysis. So we're going to take part 3 now. So this first one shows the objects of coastal are frequent flooding areas. And both of these factors and for our next meeting. So we have our natural resistors map. And then our coastal erosion. A lot less coastal erosion than now the findings. We found that the people who are most accountable for this issue are government officials and coast leaders of big corporations, as they play the biggest impact in creating and adapting policies that will help protect our environment and just make sure that everyone has access to shelter and food. They should be free. For environmentally, this will affect our coast lands and our habitats where a lot of animals and important species live and grow. This will also affect us economically because as more people are forced to move inland, this will lead to economic gentrification for rural income communities that are located along the coast, and will also lead to increased cost of living. Socially, this is important because a lot of people aren't aware of this issue, so bringing more awareness will help us be able to combat it and to make sure that we can all keep enjoying our pieces and wonderful everything. Now to our conclusion. Perhaps in our work would be, although we focus on the effects of coastal erosion on low-income communities, the majority of low-income communities are made up of people of color. I feel that if we were to implement different racial groups into the low-income communities that we are focusing on, we'd be able to find better ways to help those specific people.
Some solutions to this issue are supporting the growth of our resistors, so supporting the growth of our corals and our mangroves, and also slowing the rate of sea level rise. A little bit of a hard
end us off, some of our key takeaways are displacement and ecological harm, especially as an effect of coastal erosion, which is an effect of climate change, and and the importance of staying informed and being aware of climate issues to effectively enact change, which was the biggest takeaway of our project. We want people to be inspired to learn more from this project and maybe take a look at their own coastal communities, since most of us do live along the coast, and see the ways that it's impacting us today.
Thank you all so much. There's one last question.
Hello, I saw on your map on causes of coastal erosion, you had a large area around the Everglades. Can you explain a little bit more like what might the cause of that might be?
The other one, the natural resistors map. That one.
On the other map.
I was wrong.
I was wondering a little bit more, yeah, if it's a natural occurring thing or if it's caused by humans in some way. That's all.
Both try? Yeah. I'll start it off by saying that it's both in a way, because this has always occurred naturally, but because of climate change, it's exacerbating these issues and it's making them a bigger problem, which is why climate justice is so important. Yeah, you basically said it. It is, it really is just, honestly, you kind of been answer the question, but I think it's more important to focus on places where it looks abnormal, places like the Everglades. I guess you could expect more flooding there because it was just a really flat, swampy place. But I really like places such as southwestern coast, most tip things where it's really common and it's really concerning as well, because while there's a lot of mangroves there, there's also a lot of mangrove deforestation that's happening, down the tips of Florida, because no one wants to move down here and new places to put these people, so they're tearing down the swamps to put people there. But then these places are becoming inhabitable as the coast is eroding and eroding, and the houses are falling apart and becoming unstable because of all the hurricanes that are going on. I'm sorry, because I know I'm going on, but this also leads back to takeaways, because if people were being educated that these lands along these coastal regions that mangroves are being deforested in order to build homes there, if they knew that these communities were at risk, they wouldn't be moving here, and maybe they would be taking bigger action with governments and policymakers in order to have more conservation of these lands, which are really at the end of the day our home, regardless of whether or not we were born.
Thank you so much.
Can we give one more really big round of applause for the incredible work today? Keep in mind, these incredible young troublemakers at 15, 16, 17 did not know GIS 8 weeks ago and created these incredible maps, these wonderful data visualizations, and these cohesive storylines tackling the problems they cared about. So just incredible work. If you are interested, if you want to learn more, for those who are in the room, you have that opportunity over the next hour. We'll be transitioning to the community room down the hall, where the students will be presenting live demonstrations. If you like maps like this and want to dive into the pop-ups, want to dive into some of the sources, the insights, the next steps, the passions, we will be able to dive into and engage with all of the students. For those that are online, thank you for joining us via Zoom. It's been a pleasure to have you. We've been checking the chat in the comments. If interested, please do reach out. I believe some of our colleagues have dropped some information on how to reach out to us, but this is just the start. We wanted to pilot a program here in Southwest Florida, and in partnership with FGCU and the Water School, we've been able to do so with 20 wonderful students. I'm hoping next year we can hit 50. And so we're really excited to see how we get started, how we advance this work, and how we can accelerate proximate innovators that are committed to liberation, starting here with these 20 students. And so let's give them one final round of applause. Incredible. Well, thank you all for joining us. We'll continue shortly. There will be drinks and snacks outside as well, and excited to spark some good trouble.